Algorand is so cheap right now, guys. In this video, I'm going to explain to you why I've decided to take a larger position in this amazing project and what it kind of has in store for us in the next 5 to 10 years, all right? So let's get some time frames and some ideas of what I'm talking about right now. So the chart behind me, as you can see right now, the price of Algorand is more or less around 21 cents. And we're only about a 1x up from its all-time low, which you just don't see from very promising projects like ever. Normally, they're at least a 3 to 4x up from all-time lows, which is also pretty important because 21 cents is pretty much what it was trading at a few years ago before its massive run-up, okay? And I just don't think we will see the price of Algorand anywhere near 21 cents after this next bull market. So for me, accumulation is the most important thing, right? So let's look at some more metrics, okay? So the previous all-time high was at $2.30, and right now, again, we're at 11x down. So pretty much if the demand was the same as what it was back then, if you put in $1,000, you would make, an 11x, $11,000. So that as a baseline is pretty impressive, right, for an investment. But as we'll see in a second, Algorand has a lot more going for it in 2025. And realistically, the price could go a lot higher, all right? But before we look into any of this information, you need to know I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. This is pretty much my opinions only, and what I'm doing and what I'm looking at. I'm just sharing my research and knowledge with you guys. Do what you want with all of this knowledge, okay? So let's move on, right? So, as I said to you before, if we minimum 3x demand from its previous all-time high, therefore we're assuming demand will increase from what it was before, 3x, okay, in the next bull market, we're looking at a market cap of $40 billion, okay, which means the token price would be $6.90, but as you know we're supposed to do, we've got to factor in supply, okay? So we're going to account for inflation, aka supply, which is going to be 8 billion tokens in about 2025, okay? So therefore, we can say, accounting for these two variables, the price of an Algorand token is more or less going to be about $5, which is quite amazing, right? That's quite a lot. And if you're kind of sitting there going, Kyron, there's no way, $40 billion, that's crazy for a cryptocurrency. Just like this chart right here, right? This is from back in 2021 when the bull market was pretty much near its peak. Take a look at some of these prices, guys. We had Ethereum at over $500 billion. We had Binance Coin at $108 billion. Solana at 75 billion. We had Tether, Cardano, XRP, so on and so forth, way up there, right? So to say Algorand's going to hit $40 billion, I'm pretty confident in that. Of course, as I said before, not financial advice. This is just my understandings of the market, all right? So let's now go one step further, okay? And let's look at the max. So we said the minimum is going to be about 40 billion market cap, at least so I believe. And let's look at the max. So I believe it'll go probably push around 10 to 20x from its all-time high. This is the market cap, aka demand. Therefore, I would assume that the price for a 10x is going to be about $16.75, and a 20x on the high side of things will be about a $33.50 price for an algo token, and therefore the market caps for these will be $134 billion and $268 billion on the pretty high side, right? And that's also accounting for the $8 billion Algorand tokens in supply. So these will be accurate prices. Do I think it can go to $16? Yes, I definitely can, okay? Now, what I'm going to do with these, these values and kind of this information is take my initial investment out at the minimum price of where I believe it'll go of $5, and then ladder sell to $16 and $33, okay? So I believe I'm probably going to kind of account for a 10x max sort of blow off top, but depending on how the market travels and how things are going in institutional demand, it could definitely push up to $33. So I will ladder sell it between those 2 points. And this is proven to be the safest and most effective method to investing. And I've outlined this in my Patreon, okay, which is my Emerald tier. You guys have a spreadsheet I created up that kind of visualizes this. Now, the really interesting thing is you don't just want to ladder sell willy-nilly. You want to look at it and you want to kind of find vesting schedule. You want to look at the cliffs, massive unlocks. You want to look at any sort of important news that are happening, and you want to take all this information in and ladder sell at strategic points. If there's any sort of negative information, you might want to sell some tokens and reinvest to kind of, take profits as well as, of course, optimize your returns in the end, okay? So very important that this is easy enough for me to say, but there's a lot more variables that go into ladder selling than just saying it, okay? Now, let's look at some of the variables, 6 variables that I believe make Algorand so bullish for 2025 and most importantly beyond, okay? And we're going to look at why in a sec. Now, cyclonic demand, very powerful words. So scale, okay? So Algorand is marketing itself as a brand in Web 2, aka real life. Most importantly, it's getting its name out there, right? It's got its name on in FIFA World Cup. It sponsored those guys when the FIFA World Cup was on recently. It's also got a car in the Formula One, okay? So they definitely got their name out there, and I believe they're trying to create themselves as that middleman between people that are kind of wanting to look into this new, wonderful, weird world of Web3 and like, okay, well, we just want to stick with Web 2, okay? They're kind of positioning themselves as a gateway, which I quite like, right? Next is CBDCs. Now, this one is a very interesting topic, and personally, between you and I don't like CBDCs, but they're inevitable, and I feel like there's no harm in profiting from cryptocurrencies that are going to be kind of like supporting their creation and existence. It's a weird one to talk about, and a lot of you guys are going to feel very iffy about me saying that, and that's understandable and respectable. I'm just trying to take the most amount of profits while this shit show in a way is kind of going to take off, okay? So Algorand is focusing on CBDCs and is ISO 222 compliant, which means national demand, not just institutional demand. We're talking about entire national demand. It's also ISDA member, which is the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, with $10 trillion in gross market value being traded per year, which is just insanity, right? Number 2 is the tech. So they have a pure proof of stake that was created by the founder of Algorand, Silicon Macali, which means it's scalable, secure, and non-forking. Also very, very fair as well. So it's probably one of the better forms of proof of stake there possibly is. Also, there's instant finality, and that comes from no forking, right? So basically, when a transaction is submitted to the network, it's pretty well finalized, okay? It's not actually finalized. There is a block time of 3.9 seconds. I've added that in here, but it's more or less final, okay? So it's very important that we recognize that, because it's different. You know, if you have a network that's pushing 100,000 transactions per second, but a 10-second finality, that is not as good as a network like Algorand pushing 6,000 transactions a second, but it has pretty much instant finality, okay? So you got to understand there's a distinction there. Layer 1 dApps, check this out, guys. So apps can actually be built directly into the layer 1 itself, not on top of the network, with highly customizable tokens called ASAs, or Algorand Standard Assets, that are extremely customizable tokens that'll pretty much be like what'll be used for a lot of the different types of CBDCs and complex applications, all right? It's also post-quantum secure, which means when quantum computers come out that are so fast and powerful they can overtake networks single-handedly or with very few nodes, Algorand is secure enough to be able to combat this, which is super important because this is obviously very appealing for nations, right, and institutions, because it is extremely secure, okay? Next, we have building. So what do I mean by building? Well, they're a sleeping giant, okay? Algorand is similar to other promising blockchains tapping into real world demand, like Hedera Hashgraph, for example. These guys are actually out there working in the bear market. They're building, right? And what that pretty much means is we have untapped potential. Demand is currently not present because, well, we're in a bear market, right? We're also in unregulated markets as well, and it's suffocated by degens, which means, you know, where crypto is going, where Web3 is headed right now, it's like this right now is a complete, you know, shamble, right? Right now, there's no structure to anything. And you see projects like, you know, Hedera, especially Algorand, they are building and building and building, and people are just sleeping on that fact, right? Demand eventually will catch up to what these guys are doing, because right now, again, they're just simply creating their infrastructure, okay? Next, we have supply. So there is actually a finite supply of algo tokens. There's 10 billion that will ever be emitted, max supply. Right now, there's about 72% in circulating supply, and there's about a 5% inflation rate right now, but this is diminishing, of course, when that supply is reached. There'll obviously be no more tokens expelling or emitting, okay? Next, we have exponential returns in 2030. So what this means is when the 10 billion tokens are reached in 2030, well, you're pretty much getting a cap supply mixed with, you know, presumably very immense amount of demand by this time, which means there will be exponential returns. I like to talk about that sort of moment where, you know, you got no more inflating tokens coming out with insane amounts of demand, especially in 2030 for a project like this. the project's price will go exponential. Non-financial advice. Of course, I've got to add that in there, right? Now, strong utility, okay? So the token is paramount to the use of the network. And look, it is pretty basic use cases, but they're very integral for typical layer 1 networks. They pretty much all have the same. But look at Ethereum, obviously, a simple, utility token, if done correctly and the right dApps are built on the network, can obviously push the price up quite dramatically. Now, number 5 is their carbon negative. This is super important, right? They offset emissions. With their pure proof of stake, they are very light on emissions naturally, and then also they automatically buy carbon credits with smart contracts after each epoch, okay, which is super cool. And also, these guys are very, very heavy on promoting climate neutrality with their partnerships. They have multiple partnerships with different sort of companies, Web 2 companies, and they donate lots of money to these to help their causes, right? Solar, wind, planting trees, so on and so forth. Silvio McCarthy, the founder of Algorand, really does believe in keeping the environment very green and doing his part, okay? So Algorand is probably one of, if not the best at actually being carbon negative. Now, what this essentially does is aligns with the ESG sort of narrative, which is environmental, social, and governance, which this narrative right now is going to kill so many cryptocurrencies, especially proof of work cryptocurrencies, because this is being pushed by the elite. And essentially, if you're not kind of aligned with this sort of standard, you're going to come under lots of scrutiny and probably be shut down. And that's a bold statement, but a lot of you who know about this know it will happen, okay? Now, this makes Algorand appealing for corporations and governments, okay? It is the new agenda. And you can see what's happening here, right? Algorand just seems to be in the right places at the right time more than once, and so it's gone beyond like, oh, this might be an accident. You can tell that what they're really trying to do, okay? They're pushing themselves into institutional demand and also for national demand as well, doing all the right things that these sort of large players and this elite are wanting, businesses to do as well. Now, the founder, this guy, so Silvio McCarthy, he is one of my inspirations. He's one of my idols. I've looked up to this guy ever since I first researched Algorand. This guy is insane, and he's probably one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on Algorand, okay? So he is the founder of Algorand. He is a co-inventor of zero-knowledge proofs, and we should all know about these. He's also the co-inventor of a very, very used sort of algorithm called verifiable random functions. These things are used in every single cryptocurrency. He's also he's on the faculty of MIT for electrical engineering and computer science. He's also the winner of the Turing Award, which is a huge computer science award, and he's got a lot more awards up his belt as well. He's also got a PhD in computer science from Berkeley and a whole heap more. This guy is just phenomenal, and he's literally been doing this for so many years. He's invented so many core principles in this entire industry. This guy should be looked at as a god, all right? And he's heading this project. So look, that pretty much sums today's video up, guys. If you did want to learn more about Algorand, I have a very long but detailed high-level overview of Algorand. You can see up the top right-hand corner of your screen now. It's also going to be on your screen, okay? So I suggest you watch that if you want to learn more about Algorand. And let me know what you think about the project down below, guys. Thanks so much for watching. This is exactly why I'm buying more. It's just an amazing project at such dirt cheap prices. Anyway, guys, take care. Talk to you all soon.